Now we will talk about args and quarks. Till now, we have been passing limited number of arguments to the function because we have limited number of parameters. When I was learning Python, I always used to think, couldn't we pass unlimited number of arguments? And then I found args and quarks. And in this lecture, we will talk about args, and in the next lecture, we will talk about quarks. So, arg stands for arguments, and it is used for passing unlimited number of arguments to the function. So I have created a new Python file with the name args.py, and this Python file has a simple function with the name sum, and it takes two arguments a and b, and it will find the sum and will return the answer, and we will fetch that answer in this result variable, and we are simply printing the result. So if I run it, everything will work fine, and we got 12. But what if I want to pass here unlimited number of arguments like 5, 7, then 8, and then 5, and then 7, then 7. Now if I run it, obviously we will get an error because this function takes only 2 positional arguments, but we are passing 6 positional arguments. So in order to solve this kind of problem, we use args. So just remove these two parameters a and b, and let's type here star, and then just type here args args. So arg is just a convention. You can pass here any kind of name, variable name, but I'll stick with the convention for now. And after passing args, before I actually find the sum, let's return this args. So just type here args args. Let's save it and let's run it, and we got a tuple of our arguments, and this is how this args work. And now if I pass here this star, now what are you expecting? What we will get? Obviously we will get an error, and the reason is that this star is used for unpacking. It is not something that we need to include with a variable. And if you remember, we have used this unpacking operator in the beginning of this course. I think in lecture 3 or 4 we have used this star with print function, but now we are using it with a user defined function. So let's remove this star again. Now I hope that you have got an idea of how this args works. So it allow us to get unlimited number of arguments from the user. Now in order to find the sum of all the arguments which user will pass right here, we just need to iterate on this tuple, and we need to find the sum of all of these data items. So for this purpose, let's create here another variable with the name sum is equals to 0. So the default value of the sum will be 0, and let's return here the sum. Okay, and let's write here a for loop for item in args args. So now this args will act like a tuple, and if it acts like a tuple, then we can obviously iterate on each item of this tuple. So let's write here sum is equals to sum plus item. Okay, so this is how you can find the sum of all the numbers in a tuple. First of all, the value of the sum will be 0, and it will add 5 with 0 and will store the result or will update the value of the sum. And for the second iteration, this value of the sum will be 5. So 5 plus 7, we will get 12, and again Python interpreter will update the value of sum, and for the third iteration its value will be 12, and this process will goes on and on until the Python adds 7 to the value of the sum variable, and after finding the sum it will return it. Okay, and now let's run it, and we got the sum of all the numbers. So now here, as you can see, we are passing unlimited number of positional arguments. So you can achieve this task just by passing here a tuple or a list, but in many scenarios we are bound to use unlimited number of positional arguments, not tuple and not list. And here let me tell you one very important point, and that is we generally use this args and quarks in making custom libraries and modules of Python. So whenever you want to make a module, you need to use args and quarks in your functions. And in the beginning of this lecture, I have told you that this args is just a convention. You can type here any kind of name, but make sure that you should put this star before it in order to let the Python interpreter know that it's an arg. Okay, so just type here for now number underscore int. Okay, oops, int. So we will pass integer number, and now instead of args here just type number underscore int, and our program will still work fine. So I hope that you have understood the concept of args, and in the next lecture we will talk about quarks, and I'll see you there. Bye bye.